Hello, live from Hedgehog Cottage again. This is the next video in the series I'm doing about COVID-19. And to follow on from the last one, why I'm sceptical about the way that the government's handled the outbreak. If we go back to basics, to where it all started in Wuhan, and from all accounts, it's influenza, but a new strain of influenza. And because of the fact that it spread like it did, well, like wildfire basically, wasn't it? Governments around the world panicked, and our government especially, at the first signs of the outbreak, they didn't panic so much until the MSM, mainstream media, started all their fake news about how deadly it was. And if we look at 2019, for instance, there was something like 480,000 deaths in the year of 2019. Neil Ferguson, this professor who came up with a computer model of how many people would die from this new strain of influenza, he also has a lot to answer for, because his studies were peer-reviewed. In other words, he just published this paper. Well, he didn't publish it anyway, because he more or less kept it to himself. He didn't epidemiologists study it and give their opinion on his computer modelling. Now, back in the 90s, I did a computer programming course, and so it's one of the reasons why I was sceptical at the time, and I'm still sceptical, because during that course of computer programming that I did, I learnt as much as whatever program that you come up with is reliant on the data that you're using. In other words, the outcome that you expect from a computer programming is dependent on this data, and if you put the wrong data in, then your computer program's gonna come up with the wrong prediction, which I believe is the case in this Neil Ferguson's program, where he predicted somewhere in the region of 500,000 deaths from this COVID-19. Now, as we found out, well, just the other day anyway, the Office of National Statistics announced that so far the deaths recorded in the UK are more or less the same as they were in the same period last year. In other words, what I read from that is that although there might be a few extra people died because of COVID-19, year on year, people die from the seasonal flu. And if you look at those statistics, you can see that over time, I think it's somewhere in the region of the last 10 years, that annual deaths have fluctuated, perhaps up to a maximum of the 400,000 mark. So it's nothing new. And the government, at the outset of the outbreak, they set off taking certain precautions, but that was overtaken by the mainstream media panicking people into thinking that everybody was going to die of this new strain of flu. When you look at all viruses, diseases, you'll find that The human body needs germs and bacteria of all sorts in order to survive. And ever since the dawn of man, they've been fighting off diseases of all kinds. And the only reason that that's happened is because they've adapted to a new environment, same way that bacteria and viruses adapt to a new environment. The more you stop them or try to stop them from reproducing, the ones that survive are going to look at ways of prolonging their life in the same way that humans do. At one time of the day, I mean, if you go back to Victorian times even, the average age people used to live to was maybe 40 or 50 years old. Nowadays, it's probably double that. In fact, it's at least 80 years old. And that's gone up in my lifetime from when my dad died in 79. He was 71 years old, and that was the natural lifespan in those days. But as I say, nowadays, and you've only got to look at people that are living well into 100 even nowadays. I mean, we've got Madge at the moment, she's 93. Duke of Edinburgh, he's just turned 99. There's lots of people like that have been living to a ripe old age. This virus, like the seasonal flu virus, has been picking on the people that are unhealthy or aged, and that's the only reason we've had reports of people dying with COVID. They never tell you that they've died of natural causes or whatever health issues were prevalent at the time. It's always they died with COVID, and it's all been reported on the news. You know, year on year, you've never heard them record, for instance, in 2019, 2018, etc. You've never seen any news reports on the new mainstream media about the number of deaths that have occurred in any one year. But anyway, I'll continue this discussion in the next video. But until now, thanks for listening, and if you've got any comments, please leave them below.